The original PlayStation console was home to many amazing and beloved games, and among these cherished titles were a couple of games that starred a wacky hero, Crash Bandicoot. The Crash Bandicoot games were renowned for their fun 3D platforming gameplay, lovable characters, and cartoony visuals. The first 4 games were created and developed by Naughty Dog, but afterwards the studio handed over the reins to Activision, and over the years, it seemed like Activision had little interest in the property. So it came as a surprise when the publisher announced that the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games were getting an HD remaster. Developed by Vicarious Visions, Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy is an excellent way to revisit these classic titles. What do I love about this game? Here are my reflections for Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy. You are given the option to choose any of the 3 Crash games, but chances are you'll begin with the original, so let's start there. Crash Bandicoot has players go on an adventure to rescue the female Bandicoot from the maniacal Dr. Neo Cortex. You'll break boxes, collect Wumpa fruits, 100 of which grant you an extra life, and spin away enemies as you make your way to the end of each stage. The controls of the first Crash game are very basic, with one button to spin and the other to jump, but the stages are very charming and well designed. Many of them take place in lush jungles or temple ruins, but as you get closer to the end, you'll start scaling Cortex's mountain castle. It's worth mentioning that this first game is the most challenging of the 3. Once you reach stages like Road to Nowhere, your platforming skills are truly put to the test, and you'll quickly run out of lives if you aren't careful. Thankfully, the first game is very generous with extra lives. So long as you play smart, you'll be just fine. Aside from the final boss, the bosses of Crash 1 are actually fairly easy, but all of them have unique designs and great personality. The greatest challenge of Crash Bandicoot, as in the sequels to come, is collecting all the gems and 100% completing the game. This requires you to break every single box in a level, which is often more difficult than it sounds, as it includes TNT boxes and every box in the bonus rounds. Some of the gems take it up a notch and require you to get all the boxes and finish the stage without dying once, something that is particularly tricky on later levels. While it provides a meaty platforming challenge, Crash Bandicoot never feels unfair, and the catchy music and vivid colors of the first game are truly awesome. Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, is a superb sequel to the original, as it improves on all the features of the first game and adds quite a few notable additions. The story of Crash 2 has Neo Cortex manipulate the zany Bandicoot into collecting 25 crystals for him, which he says will help prevent a planetary catastrophe. This is, of course, all a ruse, and eventually you'll find yourself fighting the goofy yet sinister Doctor once again. Aside from a colorful cast of villains, Crash 2 also introduced Crash's sister, Coco. While she has a fairly minor role here, she would go on to become a fan-favorite character.
Make yourself useful, big brother, and bring an extra battery for me.
In terms of gameplay, Crash gains 2 new moves which can help you get through obstacles the game throws at you. You can now belly flop, which allows you to break locked boxes, and you can also slide, which helps with slipping through tight gaps. Some of the game's enemies are built around these new mechanics, and a new danger appears in the form of nitro boxes, which will kill you instantly if you so much as touch them. Collecting gems is even more varied this time around, as several of the stages have secrets in them, which give you access to some of the hidden treasures of the game. Crash 2 is terrific, and has plenty of great, memorable stages, like riding on a baby polar bear, or riding around on a jet-powered surfboard. The game has a nice blend of the platforming challenge of the first game, and the variety of the third. Crash Bandicoot Warped, the third and final game of this collection, fine-tunes all the previous elements of the series and mixes things up with more gameplay variety and a time travel theme. The story of Warped takes place almost immediately after the events of the last game. Upon defeating Cortex for a second time, Crash unknowingly sets free an ancient evil known as Uka Uka. Uka Uka, who had been influencing Cortex all along, is tired of the Doctor's failures and is giving him one last chance to obtain the crystals and gems and defeat Crash Bandicoot. Together with the help of Dr. N. Tropy, who has created a time travel device known as the Time Twister, the trio of villains hope to at last achieve victory, and it's up to Crash, Coco, and Aku Aku to stop them. The story of Warped is the most elaborate of the three games, and contains the most dialogue, and I think it wraps up the story from across the three games quite nicely.
Crash, crash, crash. Why must you always muck in my mud? Oh, look! I have a mask helping me, too. We will find out which one is more powerful soon enough.
The formula from Crash 2 is carried over here. You'll have to obtain 5 crystals in each warp room, and then fight a boss battle. And the stages of Crash 3 are a blast to play. You'll dodge knights in stages like Toad Village, or avoid death traps in levels like Tomb Time, and it's all good fun. Warped increases the variety by having you play as Coco in stages where you'll be riding jet skis, fighting biplanes in World War I, and, my personal favorite, riding a baby tiger in charming levels like the Orient Express. The levels of Warped are very enjoyable, and the boss battles are arguably the best in the series, with dynamic characters like Dingo Dial, who wields a flamethrower with explosive results.
Break out the butter.
One of the big changes Warped brought to the series was the new special moves. After each boss fight, you are rewarded with new maneuvers like a double jump and the super belly flop. All the moves are required to 100% complete the game, and it's interesting how some of them, like the Fruit Bazooka, were harbingers of what was to come with future Naughty Dog games. Crash Warped, like the previous 2 games, is loads of fun, and the gameplay is just like it was on the original PlayStation back when it first came out. Vicarious Visions did a terrific job with remastering all 3 games in this trilogy, and you can tell a lot of love and passion went into this project. They even added a new feature in the form of playing as Coco in the first 2 games, which is a very nice touch, particularly for fans. The visuals are positively gorgeous, and are wonderful recreations of what the stages and models looked like. Some levels, like Toad Village, are actually quite stunning to look at, and all the boss battles and cutscenes have a nice new, fresh coat of paint. While I do miss some of the original voice actors, the new cast does a very good job as well, and sometimes do even better work with some of the dialogue. The music for all 3 games has been remastered as well, and I feel that many of these music tracks are actually superior to the originals. All in all, Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy is well worth picking up. These platforming games are just as fun today as they were many years ago, and you'll have many fun-filled hours collecting Wumpa fruits, discovering hidden gems, and so much more. Crash Bandicoot was a gaming icon for a reason, and this collection of games is an excellent reminder as to why so many people love this series. It's insanely entertaining. Thank you for watching this episode of Game Reflections. What are your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy? Feel free to share in the comments below. Until next time, keep having great adventures, everyone.
Why must you continue to be a thorn in our side?
Who? What? Where was I? Oh, Tiny was a good fellow. He hated everyone and everything, but a good heart nonetheless. Please be more reasonable with my minions next time.